Did you know that February is Psychology Month across our country? It's a time for psychologists to try and raise awareness of the role that their job plays in our lives and in our communities. To talk more about this, we are joined by a local psychologist, Dr. Ganz Ferrance. Thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
How's your mental state today? How are you?
Not bad. I'm fighting off a little bit of a cold, but I'm feeling okay.
Okay. Well, Psychology Month.
Yeah.
Why do we need one, do you think?
Well, I think really just to raise awareness, because a lot of times, when people think of psychology, well, two things come to mind. One flew over the cuckoo's nest or Hannibal Lecter, right? So we really need to change that.
Not good.
Not good, exactly. So we really need to change that idea of what we do. Basically, anywhere that humans are involved, psychology is involved, because we have, human personalities, thinking, behavior, that sort of thing. So we're in a lot of different fields.
Yeah, the range could be anything from some emotional difficulties to somebody might be having to a much more severe psychological illness. We're talking about a huge range of things. Right?
I think it's even huger than that, because, people tend to think that, you come to a psychologist when you're having some real problems, right? And that's typically what people think of. But, a psychologist, we're trained in that. We can fix the stuff that's broken, but we can also help you prevent stuff from getting too broken. And then we can also help you to just enhance your life and just experience more joy, more success. And really, people who are really successful, really feel strong about themselves, tend not to have these other issues and need the later kind of interventions.
Before we get too much farther on this,
Sure.
Psychologist, psychiatrist, and counselor. Explain the difference between the three.
All right. A psychologist basically is someone who's gone through a school of psychology, so it's an academic degree. And in Alberta, you have to have a minimum of a master's degree to be considered a psychologist. And it's a protected title. So what that means is you've got to go through a chartering process, which for us in Alberta here, it involves 1,600 hours of supervised practice. You have to write a test. You have to do an oral in front of a board. It's fairly rigorous, right?
And a psychiatrist?
A psychiatrist is actually a medical doctor who goes through medical school and after the basic medical training specializes in psychiatry. So the difference in terms of practicality is psychologists are very well trained in testing and also what's called talk therapy, is what you think of as a psychologist. A psychiatrist is, they're also trained in the medical end, but they're also very well trained in psychopharmacology. So the medicines that affect the mind and your thinking and that sort of thing.
So a psychologist likely wouldn't prescribe you with a medication.
Right. We don't prescribe in Alberta, but I know there's some states that allow psychologists to prescribe, but typically we don't.
And counseling, this is still more of a talk therapy?
Yeah, counselor is not a protected title in Alberta, so pretty much anybody can use it. I know they're used interchangeably a lot of times, but really, psychologists can call themselves counselors or whatever they want, but it's not a protected title.
That clears things up.
Yeah.
Who needs to go in for psychology sessions to use it? You touched on this briefly, but
Right. Well, like I said, I think if you're having problems, most people really wait till it's very late stage before they venture in, because they believe there's so much stigma attached to seeing somebody. But really,
like you said, one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Exactly.
You don't have to be.
Exactly. No, not at all. And I think, another way to look at this is, instead of who needs to come, who could benefit from coming? Who could enhance their lives? Who could have a better life and enjoy more joy, love, closeness, success in their life? And that pretty much is anybody, because I think all of us have stuff that stands in the way of our success.
Examples, like there's some warning signs. Obviously depression. I've heard a lot about depression more recently, and I don't know whether that's just become a catch-all for lots of different problems. But.
Well, I think depression and stress are the two biggies, right? And the stats I have is something like 43% of the people visiting their physicians actually are depressed, but they show up with physical symptoms, right? And so you have a lot of stuff that looks like physical stuff that can really be depression, like aches and pains, sleep problems, different things like that, right? Anxiety, especially job stress, is another big one. I think in England they've made job stress compensatable illness, so you can actually get off work for it.
How do you figure out what you need to do, whether you should just go to a counselor or whether you should try and find a psychologist or whether you need to find a psychiatrist? How do you pick between those three that we talked about?
Okay, well, the psychiatrist one is fairly easy, because you need a medical referral to get to a psychiatrist. So you have to go see your family doctor and get the referral that way. So they'll help you figure that out. Psychologists, you don't need to have a medical referral to see one of us. And again, you know, sort of thinking about the range of possibilities there, you know, really the late stage kind of stuff that you're going through, or the early stage stuff, or even, like I said, the life enhancement.
Yeah.
Basically, you can get to a psychologist by calling their office and making an appointment. It's not difficult. A counselor, again, same thing. But again, you know, I think it's really important that people know that they should shop around, because whether you're looking at a psychologist, a counselor, or a psychiatrist, there needs to be a good fit, because you're going to be working closely with this individual, and you need to feel safe, you need to feel comfortable, you need to feel respected.
Very nice. Interesting stuff. Dr. Ferrance, thanks for coming in. If you want any more information on this topic, you can go online to Alberta Psych Systems Inc. The address is www.apsilife.com, and you can get some more information on that. Thank you so much.